I mean, I guess in anything, extremism is tends to be, slightly counterproductive in any field if you don't have that flexibility, and that's, I mean,
it depends on the reason. If you want to record an album that's just totally using analog equipment because you just want to create a creative constraint, and it would make good press and all of that sort of stuff because it'd be a good story. Yes. For the recording, then go for it.
Yeah.
But if you have an elitist view over analog is better than digital, well then you're a wanker.
Yeah.
That's just a personal opinion. But anyway, the thing is though is that it just depends on the reason. If you want to go totally digital because you want to see how it works and you want to experiment with that, or if you just want to use totally free plugins and just go the open source route, that's fine. Well, it's your motivations behind it that is important, I think.
Yeah, look, I mean, an example of that would be, I've referred to him, but I know the story behind this. But Francis done a recording album called Made in Space, and he tuned all the vocals heavily on that album.
Yes.
So all his vocals and all his the backing singer's vocals as well.
Yeah.
And both of these him and his backing singer have sung on many of his albums, and they're both, great singers. But he tuned all. He did it as a kind of an experiment because he just went, I kind of like the sound for these songs. Basically did it to the extreme.
Yeah.
So it was blatantly obvious it was done like that. It sounded like a computer singing, and I guess, so it was done as an experiment.
And that's totally cool. I mean, it's a well-known fact that if you put limitations and constraints in front of you in terms of creativity, say for instance, you say to yourself, I'm going to write a song in this key at this tempo with these chords, and it's about such and such, right? You've just limited yourself to a handful of variables.
Yes. And
you have 3 hours to create something. It's like you become really, really creative and inventive with the lack of choice that you have, because you have to rely on creativity to produce something good. And we were talking about this before, analysis paralysis. You give people too much choice in something, then you don't do anything. And I find that sometimes when I'm using, because I'm a Logic Pro user rather than Pro Tools or whatever.
Yeah.
Mainly because I use Macs. But because you can record 48, 64 tracks if you want to or whatever, and you've got everything that opens and shuts and all the bells and whistles in front of you, it's like trying to work out where to start is really difficult. But if you had a 4-track and a guitar,
yes,
it's really easy to know where to start.
I was going to say it's easy. It's easier to know where to start, and it's easier to know when to stop.
Absolutely.
If you can just keep on adding stuff on.
Absolutely. If you're hamstrung by the fact that you can only record 4 tracks, and maybe if you do the ping pong bounce down method, you'd probably get 8 tracks, but then it would just sound like shit after that. Well, then you get really creative. I mean, case in point, you're talking about the Beatles. They're recording their masterpieces on really archaic 4-track machines.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, they were hamstrung by the technology of the time, and look what's come out.
Yeah.
And of course, those recordings are just a product of their time anyway. But you get really creative the more limitations you place on. So yeah. But again, it's just the motivation behind why you do things.